I want people to understand that there are stories that we've all gone through and all experienced, and then the aha moments. And if just one of these stories can connect with one listener, that is all we need. That is all we need. That's the number go up that really matters. The number of people go up that join the Bitcoin network, and that's happening every day. That goes up. That never goes down. If somebody out there listening they've even got an inkling in the back of their mind of like, what should I do? Should I write a book? Should I write an article? Should I start a podcast? Should I put my musical talent to good use? Should I start, drawing artwork? About however you're being inspired, whatever it is, just start doing it. And as soon as you start doing it and showcasing what you're doing, you will get the support that you need from this community. It's unbelievable. It will change your life in...
Since 2007, at some point, I became convinced there was a way to do this without any trust required at all, and couldn't resist to keep thinking about it. Much more of the work was designing than coding. Satoshi Nakamoto. Welcome back to Your Bitcoin Story podcast, where we delve into the fascinating journeys of individuals who have dived deep down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. I'm your host, Gigi, and today we have an exceptional guest joining us, none other than Daniel Prince. Daniel is a devoted husband, caring father, and an accomplished author, having penned the inspiring book, Choose Life, which I have right here and can highly recommend. He's also the host of his own popular Bitcoin podcast called the Once Bitten Podcast, where he shares thought-provoking insights and stories. Daniel is a testament to breaking free from the rat race, as he has successfully quit the traditional 9-to-5 grind and embarked on a long-term family travel adventures. Alongside being world schooler, he's also a digital nomad, embracing the freedom and flexibility that technology offers. With his diverse background and wealth of experience, we're excited to have Daniel with us today to share his Bitcoin story and learn from his unique perspectives. Tune in to this episode to be inspired, educated, and entertained. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
That's very nice. Very, very kind words. Thank you very much. And pleasure to be here. And thank you, Gigi, for everything that you're doing to inspire as many people as you can and educate those that tune into the show and have found you and your work, and obviously your friends and your family. I tweeted the other day, the yield in Bitcoin, the thank yous you get along the way. So
yeah.
That's what we're here to do.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for those kind words. I mean, there's no better examples to follow than yourself. You've been an inspiration along with other people in the space. So I'm only getting started with my deed of giving back, but I'm having a blast. And I think with every year that passes, it's getting more and more interesting. So yeah, I guess let's hit off the show like we do with all the guests. Daniel, take us back kind of to your beginning journey of, I don't know, you want to start it prior to Bitcoin or when you discovered Bitcoin? Where does your story begin?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. And I love exploring this on my show too, because I think it's very important for the listeners to understand that the people in the Bitcoin space, they're not super intellectual, front run Wall Street trader bros that just saw an investable asset before anybody else. Like this isn't the case. The breadth of people that we've met, the depth of different personality types, different careers that have brought people into this space, and whether that's from tech, whether that's from finance, whether that's from the arts, whether that's from musicians now are here as well, and this whole culture that there's professional athletes here in this space, and everybody, doctors as well. Like, name a profession, and I guarantee you, presidents. Don't simp on that guy. Yeah, I mean, Bukele is a much better example.
100%.
Mayor Prabo, who's running for the president
Suriname.
In Suriname. Yeah, big hopes for her, and sending her, manifesting her all the luck that she needs and the votes that she needs to be able to make a difference for her country. But yeah, so many people here, and I want people to understand that there are stories that we've all gone through and all experienced, and then the aha moments. And if just one of these stories can connect with one listener, That is all we
Mm.
need. That is all we need. That's the number go up that really matters. The number of people go up that join the Bitcoin network, and that's happening every day. That goes up. That never goes down. We're all addicted to watching the dollar sticker price, and it's exciting at the moment and fun. It only happens once every 4 years or so, and that's what we are. We're allowed to blow off some steam and throw each other a few high fives and fist bumps at this stage. But the real work is educating as many people as we can, and that's what's going to make a difference. And I think as well that when we talk about entering the Bitcoin rabbit hole, what I found through interviewing people is somewhere in your life you've been predisposed to finding Bitcoin, and I think that's one of the biggest unlocks. So I would say when I realized that, when I was in the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and I came from finance, I was in foreign exchange, I was a rent seeker and sucking from the teat of the Cantillon effect, the spigot of freshly printed money, because I was brokering foreign exchange option deals between Goldman Sachs and HSBC and RBS and NatWest and all of the biggest names in the world that you've ever heard of that are moving around huge amounts of ridiculous, hundreds of millions of dollars a day. We would broker on our desk. I didn't even know what fiat currency meant. It made no
Like
sense
most
to me.
people don't in that profession.
Nope, still don't. Because I'm still in contact with a lot of them, and some of them are in incredibly high positions. They've worked their way up that corporate ladder, and they still, just side eye me when I'm talking about Bitcoin. The guy that left those markets 12 years ago and still, didn't go bankrupt and live under a bridge with him. So I found after a few years of being in a Bitcoin rabbit hole and thinking deeper about it and retrospectively and trying, why me? Why did I find it? So many more people way smarter than me. Why? Who got in my way? What happened? What was that serendipitous moment? And yeah, you can say, I found an Andreas Antonopoulos video, or I found Saifedean Ammous's book, or I was listening to What Bitcoin Did podcast, or, it depends what language, and maybe you're listening to a German equivalent or a Slovakian equivalent, whatever. There's somebody in your country that is doing the work to unlock you. But then I want to think, I thought a little bit deeper about it. I'm like, yeah, that's all great, but there must have been something else pre-programmed, that something that just lit that interest. And when I did think about it and meditated on it and trying to get back as many years as I could, I remembered that we were 28, my wife and I, and 29, right in there. And we had been living in Singapore. That's where my career had taken me. And we had flown back to the UK once or twice within like a 6-month period to start setting up the wedding that we wanted to have in the UK and invite all of our British family and friends and whatever else. And we were setting up the cake maker, the photographer, the car, the flowers, all of this kind of stuff. And for that, you need a pile of cash. A lot of these businesses that we were interacting with, they wanted to be paid in cash. And that's fine. That's great. No problem. I had a bank account specifically for this day. My mom and dad opened a bank account for me when I was like 13 or 14. And the idea was you save your pocket money, you save for a rainy day. So I was taught about savings. So kudos to my parents. And when I got to 18, they topped it up a little bit. And I would always send money back from Singapore into that account or into a different one, because now I was earning money. And I just knew one day, the day will come where I will have saved for that big day, and it will be there for me. And it won't be something I'll need to go into debt for or give me any worries about. And I'm set up. So there I am. I walk into the bank and, okay, I would like to withdraw, was it £10,000 is what I wanted, because I wanted to pay all these bills and then have a good, healthy bar bill, just make sure everything goes fine. And they looked at me like I had two heads. And she said, well, you can't do that. And excuse me, but here's my my book. These are in the days when you
Yeah.
still had the little penny in books. What is this? Early 2000s. And she said, "Well, I'm going to have to call head office." And so she says, "Just give me a second. Let me check." So she went out and checked with someone else. And then she come back and said, "No, yeah, we can't. No."
For your own money.
But it,
Not a loan, but getting
yeah.
money out of your savings account.
And I look at the book, and there was more than £10,000 in there. So, well, I don't understand. So she said, "Well, let me call head office. I've got to call head office. I've been told I've got to call head office. What identification do you have?" So I said, "Well, here's my passport. I had that with me because I knew that might be asked
No
for."
P
So I
sample?
gave her the passport.
No P
Pardon?
sample was required?
No P
Okay.
sample. Not at this stage. Just a classic, good old British passport that looked like that, and had my picture in it and everything else. So she calls head office, and this is in the days as well where we're just standing in front of each other across the desk. We didn't have any of this plastic up or anything like that. So I can clearly hear the conversation. And she's like, "Yes, we have a gentleman in. He has an account with us, and he's a customer, been a customer for over 15 years, whatever it is. And he's asked to withdraw £10,000. Yes, that's what I've told him. Yes, I have the passport here." And so they must have said on the other end of the phone, "Can you describe the passport?" And so she says, "Well, yeah, it has like the British emblem on the front. It's kind of like purpley color." And then I'm thinking, my God, am I in some kind of like bad comedy skit or something? Like, are you kidding me? Like, what is happening right now? And she said, "Okay, yeah, sure." So she must have been informed to open the passport. And then she says, "Yeah, well, there's kind of a squiggly line pattern, and there's pictures of birds in the background. And yeah, that seems to be the page on the same on all the pages." She said, "Right, yes, okay. Okay. All right, well, thank you." Puts down the phone, looks at me, and I'm thinking, right, here we go, no problem. She says, "Sorry, we can't take this as a form of identification." What? Like, so I picked it up. I opened the pages and I look. I'm going through the stamps. You see these stamps? Like, that's Singapore immigration. They accept it. Oh, you see this? This is Hong Kong. I was in Hong Kong just last week because I had to go on a trip, on a business trip. I flew in and out of Hong Kong for a weekend. They stamped it on the way in. They stamped it on the way out, and then they stamped it again when I got to Singapore. Do you think that perhaps this is a valid document of my identity? I flew in just 2 days ago from Heathrow. Here's the stamp. What? This makes no sense. Sorry, nothing I can do. It just so happened that my father was walking past the bank at that point, and he just looked through the doors and saw Claire and I in there, and just walked in to say hello. I'm like, "You have no idea what is going on right now." So it turned out he actually knew the head of the branch, and asked to speak with her. So then we end up, like, the three of us in a private room, going through the whole rigmarole again, and trying to get my identity approved. So now I have my identity, I have my passport, I have my father. He has his driving license. He has an account there for like 25 years, whatever else. He was the one that opened the account. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So when I had the realization that, fuck, that just got locked away
Mm.
somewhere in my subconscious, and when I found Bitcoin, and when that piece of the puzzle clicked for me, that shit,
This will never happen
trusted
again.
third parties are, yeah, like, I can, wait a minute. I can invest in an investable asset ahead of Wall Street. In fact, Wall Street haven't even designed this thing. They have no idea what this is. And I can take complete self-custody of it, and nobody can tell me that I can't get access to it. They were like the little pieces of puzzle that just slowly clicked into place. But after years, it takes, all of these things don't come at once. And this is another thing people have to, understand. It's like, just take it one day at a time. And these little epiphanies, they will suddenly start dropping, and they will start opening up old memories. I floated the idea. I need to do this again. I wanted to get 21 Bitcoiners together to write a chapter each and call the book 21 Reasons, and find within those Bitcoiners, what are the stories deep in your subconscious that were lurking in the background that predisposed you to finding Bitcoin. Because I believe all of us have faced something, and all of us will come to that realization at some stage. And you've probably got a story like that you might not have even unearthed yet. And
Sure.
I for any of the long-term Bitcoiners that are listening to this show, sleep on it for like 3 or 4 nights. Before you go to sleep, go back and just think, what predisposed me? What happened in my childhood? Was it something that, perhaps you had to save for a specific thing, one Christmas or something like that? What did that predispose you to saving? And then did you get rugged on that particular thing? That's one of the stories somebody told me. I can't remember who it was. But damn, no, it's escaping me. These stories are really fun to share, and it's a great thought exercise as well.
It's amazing. While you were explaining that, Daniel, I was kind of just quickly going through my mind, thinking, kind of what was this shock that I was predisposed growing up? And I would say, in my case, it was the 2013 Cyprus banking crisis, because I was born and grew up in Cyprus. That period, I wasn't in Cyprus. I was actually in London doing my studies. But I remember that very vividly. Thankfully, our family wasn't affected, because only bank accounts with over 100,000 in account basically got cut away. Like everything just got taken away. But I remember having friends and locals that were saving for generations. It was granddad passing down to his kid. And they were, imagining what they could do with this money one day. And then, just some bureaucrats in Brussels decided, to teach the world that, you can't launder money through this little island in the Mediterranean. And it was literally over a weekend. Like Friday, the banks closed, and bam, the haircut happened over the weekend. And Monday, it's all gone. And that to me was just like a moment of, wow, like the bank can just rug. Like if the bank can rug you, then like anything can rug you. Forget like all other tradings. It's like, because banks were always like these legitimate institutions, and this whole protect an account to a certain amount. I would say that to me was something that I didn't feel personally, but people close to me really got burnt. And I remember Bitcoin also, there was some talk. And I remember Bitcoin in 2013 did have this big pump of hundreds of percent exactly as that was happening, because there was some people in Cyprus that were in the right place at the right time, kind of moving their funds right before this was happening. But I think, that to me was a big moment where I realized, wow, you really can't trust any banks. And then, later on, through Bitcoin, discovering it in 17 and learning about Austrian economics and the whole banking, institutional lending and reserves, like I realized, wow, like these guys are, talk about Ponzi's, like they're playing the massive Ponzi. You come deposit your hard-earned cash, and then they just go and they loan it out to everyone, to the next pleb that comes in, and they hold what, like 10-20%. And what's crazy, what most people don't know, and I'm sure some listeners will be shocked, I don't know how it is in Europe, but I know in US during COVID, and this was like systematically done, I believe it was end of 2020, they changed that the US banks need to hold 0% in reserves.
Mm-hmm.
0.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And it's still 4 years later, it's still 0. Like I didn't read about them raising it up to the 10, 20, or even like 10%. It's a joke. Talk about bank runs. If people go in and do a Daniel Prince, give me $10,000, please, sir. They'll they'll be calling a lot of managers and saying, wow, like they want their money back. Yeah, it's insane. It's these stories that people that don't understand Bitcoin, it's like, guys, like this is really happening today. This is not some fictional story. This is not a Netflix special. This is life. And I mean, with Bitcoin, just the fact, as you said, like it's it's unconfiscatable. But the other part is, I can transact with anyone at any point in time, and nobody can limit that transaction. Nobody can freeze it. Especially what we're seeing with in Europe, which I departed 6 months ago. I kind of closed my tie with Europe, because Mika, when it came out, everybody was celebrating Mika as this, wow, fantastic, progress for Bitcoin. We're gonna, hyper Bitcoinize. And I'm like, guys, you realize Mika is like the antichrist to Bitcoin. Like, you need to declare who you're sending your Bitcoin to, for what reason. I don't know. Do you need to give your KYC? But it's insane. That's the same thing that we're doing with banks. When I send someone a transaction, I need to prove why I'm doing it, do all this explanation to send my own funds, which is crazy. But when they do their behind the door shuffling and they're gambling, nobody asks nothing. And if they cock up, oh well, someone's going to bail them out, which is doesn't sound like a fair system, right, Daniel?
No, it's ridiculous. And the what you're referencing actually, the Federal Reserve percent that was. It's funny. I've got a slide about it. I'm giving a talk Saturday in Bristol at a UK one-day conference. And reserve. So this is a quote direct from the Federal Reserve's website. Reserve requirements as announced on March 15th, 2020. This is how long it's been, right? Under the guise of COVID emergency and all this kind of bullshit. So reserve requirements as announced on March 15th, 2020, the board reduced reserve requirement ratios to 0%, effective March 26th, 2020. This action eliminated reserve requirements for all depository institutions. Madness.
And actually, talk about timing. I thought it was end of 20. It was right as COVID hit, mid-March 2020. I remember this very vividly because I became a father for the first time. My first daughter was born on 29th of February of 2020. And I remember I was going to take 2-3 weeks parental leave, and then that suddenly I never went back to the office. It was kind of stay home. But I remember that period where that's exactly the first week of March. I remember like yesterday we saw these fake videos of people in Japanese dropping like flies, and this whole everybody's like, oh, the black flu's, everybody's gonna die, like all this hysteria. And these sneaky guys are passing these changes which have huge implications, and nobody spoke about it then, right?
Yep, it's crazy. And what happened in Cyprus is it's just so wrong. I mean, I can't. It's unbelievable. It is criminal. It's awful what happened there, and you just have to understand who's running this show, right? And your money is not safe in a bank account. What's the classic saying? Only keep in fiat what you are willing to lose.
Nice. I like it. You replace the Bitcoin to the fiat. I like it. I like that one. And it's not just that. Daniel, do you mind holding just 1 second? Because my beagle, he's really howling. He wants to get out of it. He's not enjoying the conversation.
No problem.
Sorry about that. And good thing we're not live. So we're back. And the other thing is, not just keeping your money in the bank. The other thing that people don't understand is that your money is just melting away, especially with inflation today, what we're going through and what we've seen in the last 4 years. So much money being printed out, and people don't realize that this bogus 5, 6, 7% yield that they're getting on savings, if they're getting that high, you're not making more money. You're actually your purchasing power is losing even with that yield. And I guess now it's a period of time when people are like slowly realizing, wow, like I can't buy the things that I need to buy. Like what's happening? Like, and they're starting to question, how is it happening? And I think with regards to educating people, to me, that's like me personally, that's the easiest way of me planting a seed in people's minds. When I get into the topic of Bitcoin, which I love, and my wife always knows, she goes, oh, here goes the Bitcoin talk with Gigi. But I always ask him, like, are you enjoying inflation? And of course, there's no human soul that says, I'm loving it, I'm poorer by the day. And everyone's like, no, of course I'm not. And I go, well, like, how are you fighting it? What can you do about it? And they're like, well, like, I don't know, I'm thinking about it, maybe to do some stocks or some ETFs and this and that. I'm like, no, I'm like, are you a stock trader? Do you know what to trade on? No. So why are you even thinking about it? And I go, there's one simple solution. Well, what is that? And I go, just store it in Bitcoin. And people that know me, they go, GG and your Bitcoin talk. But I'm like, guys, just look at history. Look at the projection of Bitcoin, where it's going yearly. Don't look at it where it's yesterday or 1 month ago, but yearly. If you zoom out and just look at the annual returns of Bitcoin for the last 10 years and how fiat has been losing, it's like going the opposite ways. It's not like a lot of people think fiat's the stable coin, right? It's always $1 is $1. No, the purchasing power of $1 is like depleting. And the more they print, the faster it depletes. The more they print, the faster the dollar depletes, the higher the Bitcoin goes. That's why people are like, well, how is Bitcoin? We're nearly about to break this 100K, but that's irrelevant because in the future, we're going to break 1 million. We're going to break 10 million. We're going to break any millions amounts because they're going to keep on printing. And these people in power, they're not walking away. Like they're going to be printing till the last drop of ink is in stock. Like it's not going to end anytime soon. But the more they print, the less their money is valuable and the more our Satoshis grow in value. So that's why I said, what an interesting time to be alive.
It's truly incredible. And just happy to be along for the ride.
No, of course. And you have had an incredible ride. So maybe to some listeners, just in a nutshell, not to go too much, because if you want to know what Daniel has gone through life, then as I mentioned in the beginning, the book Choose Life is an incredible book. It's funny. This is semi-sequel to the 4-Hour Work Week, which I read right after uni. And I was like, wow, like, wouldn't it be amazing to have like a 4-hour work week? But I was like, it sounds too good to be true. And as the saying goes, usually, if something's too good to be true, it's usually not true. So I was always looking for this 4-hour week. And when I discovered Bitcoin, well, it didn't really transform to a 4-hour week, but it just became like, wow, like you dedicate your work to something that you truly love. And what you wrote, kind of your own story of, it's not a blueprint just how to do it, but how you've lived through it and your stories. And what I like in your book, which is very unique, your wife also gives her perspective at the end of each chapter, which is very fitting, which, this is what I think is super important that most Gen Zs are not thinking about, is building a healthy family, having a partner, may that be a husband or a wife, that supports you through the journey. Life is the real journey, right? And you need someone that reflects you, like the yin and yang, right? Me personally, I'm a very hyperactive guy. And then my wife's like very quiet, like very like grounded. So she like steers me. Like I see myself as the bullet train and my wife's the tracks, the bullet train can't go without the tracks and the tracks need the bullet train. So together we kind of steer this journey on our own way. And yeah, your book of how you left your job and people said, oh, Daniel, you're crazy. Like you're going to go and you have double the amount of kids than I do. I have 2 daughters, 4 kids. And I believe your youngest one at the time was about a year or 2 years or even less.
They were, that was the twins. They were 3 years, 3 years of age.
And you decided, you know what, I'm done with foreign exchange. I'm done with these big boys in the office and the suits and the late night dinners. I'm going to go travel the world. How's that experience been? And at what point during that experience did you discover Bitcoin? I guess you didn't know about Bitcoin when you kind of decided to take the leap of faith, or you did?
I had poo-pooed it many times. I had ignored it and thought it was dead. I remember reading about the Mt. Gox hack and believing, this is the level of, well, I'd done no research into it, but there it was on the front. I'd heard it a couple of times before that, maybe 2011, 12, it just kept coming up in conversation because we were on foreign exchange markets, and one or two of the customers must have spoken about it, and you see it because we had newsreel all the time. And the only news that you'd ever see about Bitcoin, and of course to us it was dollar Bitcoin, was it was a couple of pennies, and it was a little bit more, then it's a little bit more, and then it crashes. You're like, man, this is just like, what the hell? Like internet geek money? Like who's even trading this? Like it's just retarded. And then the Mt. Gox hack, and I just thought, just like speed reading the article and seeing the headline, well, these dudes lost all their money, and well, what did you expect? And well, that's the end of Bitcoin Inc. Because I hadn't even realized it was not a company, and I didn't even realize it didn't have a CEO. I had not done any of that research at all. So when we come around to like, I read the 4-Hour Work Week, November 2013, and I quit my job in March. We were traveling by May 2014. It was quick. I read the book cover to cover 5 times in 4 months. I just kept getting to the last page and flipping it back over again. And I'm like, this can't be. Like, there's no way. And so I would just have to keep. And then I started finding I needed Oh, here's another thing. Predisposed, right? I needed verification.
Mm.
I couldn't trust the book. I couldn't trust Tim. I needed verification, but he would give examples of people in each chapter, and I'd go and find who's this guy then? Right, okay, fine. I follow him and follow his blog and follow his work. And I found Brandon Pierce and the Pierce family, and Brandon was kind enough to write the foreword for the
Mm.
book because it was him that pushed me over. It was him that said, "Yeah, dude, like we've got 3 daughters, we've been traveling for 2 years, and this is how we do it." Like, I'm like, what? Like, so this is for real? And sure enough, that was what gave us the conviction. And we just started putting, one foot in step of the other, and winding down our life and selling all of our stuff and getting ready, resigning, getting ready to go on this trip, looking into homeschooling, unschooling, world schooling, all of this kind of stuff. And you find families that are doing that. There were plenty of Facebook groups and resources that you could lean into. And it's like, wow, okay, there's a whole different world out
Mm.
there, and people are living a different way to what I thought. I was gaslit into believing 9 to 5, 5 days a week at the very minimum, right? But if you
That's on
really
a
want
good
to
week.
succeed, then yeah, oh, yeah. If you want to succeed, you got to be putting in far more hours than that. Ask any lawyer or anyone that's ever worked in financial markets, any doctor. You're working absolutely crazy, and that's what I was. I was on that hamster wheel, and I couldn't see light at the end of the tunnel. My light at the end of the tunnel was maybe another 20 years, and I could probably, like what?
That's a long tunnel.
Then all my kids are
Yeah.
gone. Like that makes no sense. So yeah, thank you, Tim Ferriss, again for writing that book, and it's definitely worth people going to check that out. But when we left, that was the impetus for me to find a store of value, because I knew I didn't want to come back begging cap in hand for another job. I wanted to be gone. I wanted to be clean cut. I'd done it for 18 years. And I didn't want to, no, I wanted to, find a way like Tim had, like, find another revenue stream and, find something different, be location independent. How can you do that? And so we started the journey, and I was keeping just a family blog going, and uploading it and emailing it out to friends and family, and we had the website up. It was just a free website, and I would post it around, and then I thought that might actually be able to bring in some kind of revenue, because we had we had media outlets getting hold of us,
Mm.
and we were using a website called lovehomeswap.com to home exchange. We had a vacation home. We would exchange that, and that's how we started traveling the world. And they would push our story out to newspapers and magazines, and we were constantly being asked to appear in some newspapers. We even appeared in the Sunday Times in the UK. In their big edition on a Sunday, they have a pull-out travel
Oh yeah.
magazine, and it was like a 3-page spread. We were on the front cover, and it was mad. But people are interested in finding these stories of how people have changed their lives. So I needed to find that store of value. So what I did before we left Singapore was the classic precious metals. Let's just go and buy some physical precious
Mm.
metals and have them in stored, and you pay the storage fees and whatever else. And I thought, okay, this will be fine. Silver's going to moon, and we'll be great. And kudos actually here to Real Vision, because Grant Williams and Raoul Pal launched Real Vision right around that time, 2014, back end of 2013, start of 2014, and I was one of the first subscribers, because Grant was a friend of mine. Grant lived in Singapore. I never knew Raoul. I'd never met Raoul, but Grant, we'd been out to dinner, and, he's like, yeah, we're starting this thing. I think you're going to enjoy it. He knew I worked in markets. So I signed up, and I started watching the interviews, and I'm like, wow, like long form content with hedge fund managers that you've had no access to as a
Mm.
pleb. Even working in foreign exchange markets, I didn't have access to these hedge fund managers. Like, no way. The banks, they dealt with the hedge funds of the world, and that's where the real money was coming from. And you'd sit down and watch these interviews, and then another one, then another one. And I caught up with Grant towards the back end of 2014, mid 2014, I can't remember. And I said, when are you going to do anything about Bitcoin? He's like, yeah. we've got some coming. And those interviews they were the ones that just, the classic Sparta meme where the guy just kicks him into the
Yeah.
hole. They were the
That was
interviews
the
that
punch
did
in the
that for
face
me. Like,
interviews.
yeah, just get in that hole, just go. And that was Wences Cesares, Tour de Mista, Trace Mayer they had on. And then they started this thing called The Chain, where they would then pick someone else from, like, what were they calling it, like the blockchain or crypto arena, and then they would interview them. And so I just started watching all of those. Then I found Andreas, and that was when it suddenly clicked for me. Oh shit, this is going to be a store of value. And this is an investable asset that is not being designed by the financial wizards in, derivatives desks or quants in Wall Street. Like, this is something else. This is crazy. I need to have some of that. And understood, like the story about the bank earlier, that you need to take self custody of that. So that was they were the 2 points, and the early influences on my thought process. And after that, I couldn't read enough. I couldn't watch enough interviews. I couldn't find enough people to follow, and it was a different landscape. Look at this. We did not have this. These are all Bitcoin books back here. It was tough to find real, solid information without getting influenced into distributed ledger technology, bananas on the blockchain, and the new ICOs that are coming out.
Bitcoin 2.0.
Yeah, Litecoin, and is silver to Bitcoin's gold, and all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, it was choppy waters out there. But it, and I went through that period, through the 2017 craziness, and
Did you own Bitcoin? I presume you did own Bitcoin, right? Before the 2017 ICO shenanigans, right?
yes,
How did it go?
yes,
How
and
did
then
you,
by
do you remember buying your first Bitcoin, and where was that? Like, was it local Bitcoins, or was it actual exchange, or P2P?
no, it was on an exchange that I'd managed to find in Singapore, which thankfully I did self custody because it went bankrupt or bust or rugged everybody that kept the Bitcoin. One of the classic stories. I can't even remember what it was called. CoinHeiko. It was called CoinHeiko. And then there were these other ones like Poloniex.
I remember Poloniex.
Yeah, there was another
Sounds like a
one as
disease.
well. I can't remember exactly. And I just just started very, very slowly. Just, okay, what is this thing? Invest a little bit. I do remember one more of a conviction trade was when we were in the UK. We were traveling, and the twins, it was their birthday, and I think they must have been about, I can't remember what age they were turning, but they were young, right? So we'd taken them to one of these jungle gym things where there's all the slides and inflatables and soft
The
cushions
happiest
and
place
ball
for the
balls and all
kids.
that kind of stuff. Oh, heaven for kids. And the four of them went running off crazy. And my wife's looking at me. You gotta look at them; they'll be fine. Like, these places are, they're built. Imagine the insurance if they, like, I just need the Wi-Fi a second. So I got on the Wi-Fi and I logged in and I got into the exchange. And I remember that was a fun purchase because the conviction in me. I'd been waking up all night like, I'm missing this. I'm missing. Oh my god, we're short Bitcoin. We need more Bitcoin. Like, this thing is, all of these epiphany moments were happening, and it just, like, nothing was going to get in the way of that particular purchase. And that was a fun one. That's one I'll always remember for sure.
Amazing. And I guess, like with a lot of stories that I have from other guests, no matter what price you were buying Bitcoin, you always thought, wow, that was expensive. Did you have the same conviction?
Yeah. Except the dip in 2020.
Well, that
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 was
that was
like,
like a bargain. No. I mean, your
yeah,
first Bitcoin. Whenever you get into Bitcoin, like your like first buys, may that be $100 or $1,000 or
Mhm.
10,000. You're like, wow, like you're like questioning yourself.
Yeah.
Am I doing the right thing, or I'm just blowing money on some digital code that is going to be gone tomorrow?
And the first transaction you make to take that
Cold
cold
sweats.
storage, you're like, and I've seen so many people go through it as well. I'm like, I know where you're at. I know where you're at. Don't worry. Like the tingling in your hands, the
The sweaty palms,
sweatiness,
yeah.
like everybody feels that same. It's weird that everybody has the same feeling. That's the power that money holds over us. That's how important it is to our species. And nobody wants to be conned, right? Nobody. That's an awful, awful feeling. So when you make that first transaction, anybody that's not taking cold storage, self-custody, please make sure you take this very, very seriously. Take it slowly. Get yourself a hardware wallet. Understand how it works. Do a few practice runs with it. And then when it comes to, write down your words.
I
And
was going to say
then,
that's even more important than keeping your
yeah,
cold storage like safe, because you might forget it, or it breaks, or you lose it. You don't know where you put it, but you got to have a backup. I don't know, was that with your family member or someone, but like have it safe, and so you can always retrieve those funds. Because if you lose them, a
yeah.
Bitcoin's donated to all of us. It's never
Hmm.
retrieved back.
And that's another thing that people really need to understand as well. Like the Bitcoin doesn't go to that device. It feels like it. That's what I thought for years. It's like, oh
Got my
yeah,
Bitcoin and my cold
it's all good.
storage.
It's on my
USB
little
stick.
USB. But no, all Bitcoin lives on the blockchain, and that's
Just
something
your
that
signing device. That's why I like Seed Signer, right? It lives up to what it is. It's basically signs
yes,
your seeds. There's no fancy doubling, colorful stuff. Yeah, it just does one simple thing. It enables, how I like to explain it, Daniel, to people that give me questions. Well, does it not stay on the cold storage? I give them a reference to think of the Bitcoin protocol blockchain as a PO box. You don't actually hold the box yourself. It's you have a key to open this box, to take out whatever's there and put it in another box. The PO box never leaves anywhere. It's always in one place. So your kind of cold storage is this key to unlock your own PO box. So that's kind of the analogy I like to give to people, because I get this a lot. They think like, oh, well, what if I lose, my cold storage? Like that Bitcoin's gone forever. I'm like, well, no. If you have your seed phrase, you'll always retrieve it.
hmm
But as you said,
hmm
it takes time to process that. It's such a, may I say, unnatural concept, because everybody's used to the, forget my password, because everybody forgets the password. And it's like, but Bitcoin doesn't have a forget your password. And Bitcoin really brings this responsibility back to people, which people, I say this a lot, they've been going soft for centuries. Everything's done for us. We don't have to keep nothing, memorize it, let alone forever, or it's lost forever. And Bitcoin, like, I love the saying, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And oh boy, does it change you. Like it starts from the money, because everybody kind of comes in, as you said, money's so powerful in our society, and that's why we're so scared about losing the money. But like money's the thing that brings most of us in, unless we're some IT programmer. But then you kind of stay, as you go deeper, you realize, wow, like I'm living my life the wrong way. My life purpose and things that are really important to me are not the things that I really want. Like Bitcoin to me is like a mirror, right? Like you look at it and you see the real reflection of yourself, and you start working on yourself. Like I like to affiliate it with Michael Jackson. Well, my favorite song from Michael Jackson, "Man in the Mirror," right? Like if you
Yep.
want to change the world, look in the mirror, change yourself and then change everything around. But people just want to change everybody around themselves, and they forget to change themselves. And Bitcoin's like the perfect tool to do that. That's why I truly, believe Bitcoin is this kind of renaissance technology where humanity's gone such a wrong route. The world we live in today, excluding Bitcoin, it doesn't make any sense. From the wars to the disease to the mass usage of everything, overproduction, and just like the real scams that are happening out there, and taxation and everything. It's just like it's so wrong. And Bitcoin is here, this protocol, right? Not even a person. And the fact this HBO documentary, I mean, it was such a fiat mindset to do this whole big shenanigan. Who is Satoshi? It's not about who is Satoshi. It's about what Satoshi laid out to us, and actually, I feel sorry for Peter Todd. Like these guys, without even realizing it, they put his life into danger. Like how many like nutters out there may really think that Peter's the real Satoshi. And my God, like there's some nutters out there. And we saw what happened with the Beatles and other, famous people. Like they you can get killed just for, trying to think you're that person. So yeah, like we still have a long way to go. I like to say, Daniel, like I was just on a podcast last night, Thriller, and I was talking about this analogy I would like to bring up. I was saying that Bitcoin is like your teenage girl or boy, right? He's 16 years old. What do you like? Are you expecting this teenage person to be like the master chef, the doctor of neurology? Like, give it time. He's 16 or she's 16 years old, and she's already in the top 10 like most heaviest capitalized assets in the world. We're about to flip silver, going to your commodity that you were mentioning. And how many fiat currencies have we flipped? The latest big one is Canadian dollar. We're like on the brinks of flipping that. Like, it's insane what's been achieved in 16 years, not 60 or 600 years, but like, so I tell people, Bitcoin today is still cheap. Forget if it's 90K, 100K, 150K. Like, this is going to change everything forever. Bitcoin is going to number one. Like, it's going to flip the dollar without a doubt. When is that going to happen? Is that going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years? Nobody knows, but it is going to happen. That's inevitable. So the sooner you start stacking sats, the better off you will be.
100%, man. And yeah, let's hope, like I said at the beginning, just one more person each day. And if somebody out there listening if they've even got an inkling in the back of their mind of like, what should I do? Should I write a book? Should I write an article? Should I start a podcast? Should I put my musical talent to good use? Should I start, drawing artwork about however you're being inspired? Whatever it is, just start doing it. And as soon as you start doing it and showcasing what you're doing, you will get the support that you need from this community. It's unbelievable. It will change your life in so many different ways. We're still stuck with the old fiat mindset of how do I add, what can I do in the Bitcoin space to be paid in Bitcoin to get more? It's like, no, come at it with a different angle. What can you do to add value to those that are, be following in your footsteps? And as soon as you do find that project and you put it out there, you'll find another 5 to 10 Bitcoiners within a week of you talking about your project online, on Twitter, on Nostr. You have people DMing you, I can do this for you. Let me do this for you. I can help you with this. Let me send you this. Let me do that for you. And before you know it, you've formed a little coalition. And you've got something. You've got something to be able to offer. And there's so many examples of that. What Scott and Mallory have done at Shammering.
We had them on a few weeks ago. It's insane from the board, from the card game to the books. It's teaching the little ones.
It's incredible. There's their products on the back. Yeah. And they lent in, went for it. Scott gave up his job. He's like, I'm doing this thing. And he could only do that because he had the safety net of Mallory, because, she had his back, like you were talking about earlier. She could carry on doing her role. And Bitcoin, because that underpinned his position and underpinned his decision-making. And now Mallory's a mother of 2 babies, and she's not working anymore, and they're still producing Bitcoin content, and they've got the backing of so many great people. And Toma here, his story is their latest line, and it could be anything. You have the playing card guys as well, right? The Bitcoin trading cards. They're awesome. Yeah, there's, I want people who are listening to understand, if you want to build on Bitcoin, that doesn't mean you've got to be a coder, a shadowy super coder sitting there in your hoodie, looking and checking for bugs in the Bitcoin core. Like, no, that if you have those skills, then go for it. Yes, but otherwise, design caps, design T-shirts, do whatever it is. Bring your skills, whatever you've been doing in your career, or whatever is interesting you. I love Daniel Apex art. Like the hand drawn pencil drawings. Like, that guy, like, he's unbelievable. The work
I've
he
got
comes
three
up with.
pieces coming on their way because it's my birthday in a few weeks' time, and I rewarded myself for the last year. I usually don't buy myself birthday gifts, but this is the first time that I was like, I need to reward myself. And there was a few things I wanted to get, but then I was like, you know what, Daniel, with his Bitcoin Apex artwork, there was three pieces that I was looking for the last 12 months. I pulled the trigger; they're on their way. But yeah, shout out to Bitcoin Apex. I mean, like the craftsmanship that goes into it beats any NFT, any inscription, none of that bogus. Like the skill that goes into
Yeah,
it, it's pure art. Like, so yeah, I can definitely relate to what you mentioned.
yeah, it's
And
beautiful.
just to add to that, if I may jump in, like building on Bitcoin, there's so many things to be built. It's such a beautiful time. Now it's not like 10 years ago when it was nobody understood Bitcoin and it was like, oh, it's just some digital internet money. And it was still a question, is this tech going to succeed or not? Here today in 2024, it's been totally reassured and verified that Bitcoin's not going anywhere. And there's so much stuff to get built. As Daniel said, may that be artwork, may that be music, may that be craft, whatever it is, like whatever you're truly passionate about and you love doing, just start offering it to the Bitcoin community. And you'll be surprised by how much support you get because Bitcoiners love supporting other Bitcoiners. Even if you give like a little discount premium in sats, it makes a lot more sense because the sats you'll be getting and hopefully you'll be storing unless you're living day to day of it is going to be so much more rewardful than trying to have a higher price of fiat and try to compete amongst the sea of all other things. And especially I've been talking to a few people about e-commerce, right? Like e-commerce today, like I come across nearly every day ads and everybody's like pushing e-commerce, like start your online Shopify store. And it's the same stuff, Daniel. It's like copy paste of the same stuff. But I don't see that many e-commerce guys integrating a simple shout out to once again BTC Pay server, having like an option to pay in Bitcoin. It goes straight to your cold storage. Hopefully you're using your own sovereign server on your Start9 or whatever node you're using, and literally like you're getting hard money straight into your pockets from anywhere in the world in real time. And it's here right now. It's not like, oh, maybe one day. This is not the Sovereign Individual book, which I'm currently reading and finishing, that was written 30 years ago, where it like laid out the blueprint. That I'm having goosebumps, Daniel, before going to sleep, like reading stuff and talking about the cyber economy and like being a true, self-sovereign individual. It's insane. It's no more a fiction one day in the future. The future is now. So don't waste your time because time is TikTok next block. You're getting older every day by the day, so make the most of it. And Bitcoin is like arguably the best space to be in and build on whatever you truly are passionate about. So I just wanted to add that.
100%.
So I guess I know we're kind of, I wouldn't say short in the time, but we have another maybe 5-10 minutes to round it up. I wanted to talk about homeschooling, but there's so many episodes that you talk about. And actually last night I managed to log in a little bit to your Zap stream with Walker, and I caught exactly the moment with the homeschooling. So if you guys are interested about homeschooling and some fresh takes, definitely go check out Walker's The Bitcoin Show. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube or Zapstream, but anyways, let's push people more listeners to Nostr, which I've been doing myself. So check out Zapstream and Walker Show last night with Daniel with homeschooling. I won't dig into this one on this episode, but maybe I would like to kind of close it up and get some of your insights and advice for like how, like, what advice would you give to people that are looking to do a Bitcoin startup today? I know you said like just go out and do it, but like, I'll maybe kick it off. One advice that I give to people is definitely attending conferences. This is actually where we met in person. I've been following your podcast for some time and meeting you in person and getting your Choose Life, signed and having a little chat on the side. Like it meant so much to me. And if I wouldn't have gone to Prague, it would have never happened. Maybe this pod episode would have never happened. And it's just like the synergy, the feeling that you get at conferences, you can't describe it. It's like time just pauses. There's no time there. Like you're just enticed by people on the same wavelength and everybody's discussing different ideas and sharing feedback. And there's no envy, there's no jealousy, there's no Lambo talk. This is not Miami 2022. It's a whole different frequency. So my advice would be definitely conferences, but I'll let you kind of share, Daniel, what else you could recommend to people that are looking to get started.
Yeah, 100%. And on a smaller scale, on a micro scale, and a shameless shill because I sit on the board and I help Matteo
Oh yeah.
with the Orange Pill app. Like I said before, when I was going down that rabbit hole, it was all alone, alone, and you were trying to find the good information, and all you had really was Twitter. I wasn't around for the Reddit days. I missed that, but you had Twitter, and then you're relying on a lot of pseudonymous accounts. Like, yeah, they seem to be talking sense, but like, who the hell is this guy? From where? What's his background?
What's this guy's
What's got
agenda?
him to this? Exactly. So now here we are. Orange Pill app is 2 years old. You don't have to be that lonely Bitcoiner anymore. And that's huge because so many of us suffered within our families. Like, you're the only guy talking about Bitcoin and no one's listening to you, and none of your friends are down the pub listening to you and whatever else. And you're just a crazy guy, and everyone's side eyeing you. And your wife is like, "What are you doing? Like, you can't be investing our life savings into like that." No, and it's going to cause a lot of grief and a lot of trouble, and it has done between family members over the years. There are too many stories like that. So I would say get onto Orange Pill app and just find your local plebs. Who are they? Who's your nearest? And if there isn't any, there soon will be if you keep talking about Orange Pill app. And if there isn't a meetup, start one. Be the one guy that turns up to your own meetup and tweet about it. Because this is building on Bitcoin. Someone will see that and someone will come. Or someone will be passing through town. They'll flip open the app. And they're like, there's a dude like DM you. And it's like, dude, like, you're my nearest Bitcoiner. Like, what? What are you doing in town? Let's go meet for a beer. Let's go meet for a coffee. And then before you know it, you're the best of pals. And you've put the world to right, of course. And
Very true.
you've come up with the best ideas ever after 3 beers talking about Bitcoin. And everybody else in the bar are like, the hell? Like, we're closing, guys. Out. Please leave. Stop talking. No more drinks. No more, that's the experience you need to go through. So conferences are incredible, life-changing events. If there are none coming up in your area, you don't have the means to get there or whatever else, the easiest thing, the lowest barrier to entry to finding a Bitcoiner is download Orange Pill app, pay for the $3 a month, whatever it is, because it's a paid app. If something's free, you are the freaking product.
100%.
There's no algos, there's no feed, there's nothing like pushing you in a certain direction. It's like flick open the app, who's near me, just start connecting and get into some conversations, set up a date, go for it. It is a dating app if you want it to be. And that's that. But I've just seen the time, man, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to end on that
No,
one.
I will. I respect your time, and thanks again, Daniel, for taking the time to come on the show. We will definitely be doing this again because there's been a lot of things I wanted to bring up, but there's only so much we can discuss in 1 hour. I guess the best place to send people are your X page and Noster, right? Any other places we should include in the show notes?
Orange Pill app, come find
An
me on
Orange
there.
Pill app.
DM me anytime. Yeah, my DMs are open. I think they're open on Twitter too, but you just never know what Twitter does with whatever. But yeah,
Stick to
and I'm
Orange
still
Pill,
not
and
calling it X.
Noster is the way. Let's keep it decentralized.
Yeah. So Noster as well. Every day probably every week or two, I'll just hit my X feed, Twitter feed with my NPub, so people can come and find me. And it's all good. But
Amazing.
thank you, mate, for what you're doing. Really appreciate you. And let's we have got this.
For sure.
Bitcoiners, we've got this. I want everybody to understand that. It can be tough at times, but we're all pulling in the right direction. And if you've got truth on your side, if you're not going to orange pill somebody, then if not you, then who?
And that's nice.
Don't shy away from talking to people about it and trying to get people on the right side of.
Couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much, Daniel. Until next time, be good and speak to you soon.
Cheers, brother. Take care.